And this is Abhishek, back within the video tutorial on Object-Oriented Programming Concept Part 3. In this tutorial, I'm going to explain you the entire execution process of a Java program. So let's get started with today's topic. A lot to know, a lot to discuss as always, but before we begin, please subscribe to my channel and like the video. So, an execution of Java program is quite different from the execution of other programming language, which makes Java highly compatible and can run on any environment. So here you have the complete execution process of Java. How exactly the Java execution process takes place, from this we can understand. So here we have a huge diagram and we are going to discuss each and everything from this diagram. So basically, when you write a program that is called as Java code or that is called as source code. So here you have a Java code or source code. The program what you write, that is called as Java code or it is called as source code. So here you are going to write a program. When you write any program, the extension by which the program gets stored in the computer is called as .java. Any program you write, it will get stored with the name .java with an extension .java. Now if you give a program name as Raurkela RKL, then it will get stored with an extension rkl.java. Okay, now if you make a program named as pen, then it will get stored as pen.java. So here when you write any program in Java, when you write any code in Java, that is called as source code and it gets stored with an extension .java. So here we have the complete execution process. Now once you write a program in Java, that program will get stored with an extension .java. Now how Java program is different from other programming language, or how it is different, or how the execution is different from other programming languages, that we have to understand. Remember, whenever you execute a program, whenever a program get executed, okay, if we talk about C++ or you talk about C or you talk about any other programming languages, whenever a program is compiled or interpreted, or whenever a program is executed, a program is directly converted to machine code. It is directly converted to machine code. Okay, the code which is understood by a machine, that is called as machine code. So whenever you execute a program, or whenever you execute your source code, the program what you write, the source code what you write, it is directly converted to machine code. So here you can see we have machine code at the end. So once you write a program, it will be directly converted to machine code through a compiler or interpreter. So here in between this conversion, a compiler or an interpreter will take place, or they are going to help you to convert a source code or any code to a machine code. So here compiler or interpreter are going to work in the middle to convert any programming language source code to machine code. Is this clear to you? Now remember, in Java the same thing does not happen, because in Java whenever you write a code in Java, it is never converted to machine code directly. It is never converted to machine code directly. Remember, the way the codes are directly converted to machine code in C++ or in C or in any other programming language. Here I'm not talking about Python. Please remember, students, Python is something which is not again converted to machine code directly, but we don't have Python in our course of studies. So I'm not discussing anything about Python. We are discussing about Java, right? So I'm going to do not include Python in this programming language. So here when we discuss about any programming language, I'm excluding Python here. All the programs or all the source code get converted to machine code directly. This is the reason why these programming languages are called as machine dependent. They are dependent on machine. When you write a program in C++, please make sure, if you are going to write a program in C++, if you will write it for Windows, then it can only be executed on Windows. Now let us try to understand this with an example. Well, a company comes to me and it will ask me to develop a school management software. Okay, the first question what I will ask the company, that sir, what environment you use in the school or in the computer, which operating system is installed. The company will tell me, sir, I have Windows installed on my computer. Okay, I will be quite happy because I will be using C sharp. I'm not talking about C++, I'm talking about C sharp. I will be using C sharp to develop the school management software. Now after 1 year, I'm going to deliver the software. The software is delivered. Now again after one month, another school will come to me and will tell me, sir, again I want to develop a school management software. Once again I will ask the company, I will ask the school, so what kind of software, what kind of operating system you use in the system, in the computer. Again the school will tell me, sir, I use Windows operating system. I will be quite happy. Why I will be happy? The reason is, already I have developed the school management software. I will make few changes as per their need and simply I can deliver the software without working much on that. Now after 2-3 months, again a school will come to me. At this time, again the requirement of the school will be like they want to develop a school management software. Again they will ask me to develop the software. Same question I will ask them, sir, what operating system do you use? Now here the thing is, that school will tell me, sir, I use Linux operating system. Here I cannot deliver the same software which I already delivered it to the schools in the past, because that software is developed with using the language C sharp, and C sharp cannot be executed directly on Linux environment or Linux operating system. So what I'm going to do, I will use some other programming language to develop a similar software which can be executed on Linux. Now once again, after 3-4 months, again a school will come, fourth school will come and will ask me to develop a school management software. Once again I will ask them the question, sir, what environment you use, what operating system you use. Again I will find a different answer for that. Now they will tell me, sir, we use Mac operating system, Macintosh operating system. Now it is a big headache for me because already I developed a software for Windows environment. Then after a year, I developed the same software for Linux environment. Again I am going to use some other programming language which can run on Macintosh operating system. So again it will take a year to develop the software for Macintosh operating system, isn't it? So here you can see that clearly it is visible that to develop the same software for three different environments, for three different operating system, that is Windows operating system, Linux operating system and Macintosh operating system, I used three different programming languages. So here I need to have an idea about all the language which can be run on specific environment. For an example, if I want to develop a software for Windows, then I need to have idea about the language which can be run on Windows, like C sharp. If I want to run a program on Linux, I need to have an idea about a program or a language which can be run on Linux. If I need to develop a software for Macintosh, then I need to have idea about a program or a language which can run on Macintosh. So here I need to have idea about three different programming language, at least three different programming language which can run on different environment. So it is quite a very difficult task for me to remember all the language, isn't it? Now Here Java plays the vital role. When Java was developed for the first time, why it became so popular? The reason is, once you write a program on Java, the advantage what you get is, once the program is written on Java, it can be executed on any environment. You don't have to remember, you don't have to learn different programming language. Once you develop a program, once you develop a software in Java using Java, it can run on Windows, the same thing can run on Linux, the same thing can run on Macintosh operating system. Okay, so here why the things happen, why when we develop any program, when we write any program in Java, what is different in Java so that it can run on any environment, on any operating system, which is not possible with other programming language. The only reason is, remember, in other programming language you will find a source code is directly converted to machine code by compiler or by interpreter. Whereas in Java, a source code is never converted directly to machine code. There we follow simple a few things, or Java follows some other steps through which the code becomes independent. Why I am saying it becomes independent? The reason is, it is not dependent on any programming, any environment. It is not depending on any operating system. It is not depending on any specific machine. Once you write a program in Java, it can run on any environment, any operating system, or you can say any machine. So I say that Java is an independent programming language. Once you write, it can run on any environment. Now let's get started with this. Here, when you write a program in Java, that is called as source code. Remember, this is called as source code. Once you write a program in Java, that is called as source code. The code which is written by a programmer, the code which is written by a developer, that is called as source code. The starting code or source code. Whenever a program is written, whenever source code is written, it is saved with a name. The program is saved with a name. Okay, whatever name you give, it is okay, but you have to save with an extension .java so that we can recognize this is a Java program. Once the program is written, then it is compiled. And why it is compiled? It is compiled to find, is there any error in the program? With the compiler, with help of the compiler, we find there is any error in the program or not. Do the source code contains any error or not? Because the program what we write, okay, according to us we have written a correct program, but there might be some syntax error, there might be some error. So these errors are going to be compiler is going to find out these errors. Okay, so here once the source code is written, we will compile the program. Remember, we will compile the program. Earlier we were doing we were using interpreter to find error. Okay, now here in Java we will use compiler. Once the program is written, here once the program is written, we are going to use compiler to find whether the program is written correctly or not, whether the program is syntactically correct or not. So here using compiler we will find whether the program is correct or not. If the program is correct, remember, if the program is correct, then it will be converted to bytecode. If the program is not correct, if it is not correct, then again we are going to be sent back to the same place, and we will ask to correct the program. Wherever the mistake is done, we will be asked to correct the program. So here, once the program is compiled, and if we find there is any mistake, remember, we will be again sent back to the code, and we will be asked to correct the program or rectify the errors or debug the program. Once the debugging is done, once the program is corrected, then again the program will be compiled. And when the program will be compiled and there will be no error, then we will find that the source code is now converted to bytecode. So here remember we have source code and here we have bytecode, right? So here you don't have to bother that how the bytecode will be, what kind of bytecode we have, with what language it is written. We don't have to think that. You just have to know that here we have a bytecode. Here we will have a bytecode. So this is source code which is written by the programmer. Now once it is compiled and if the program do not contain any error, then it will be converted to bytecode. Once it is converted to bytecode, it will have an extension dot class. Remember, bytecode contains an extension dot class. Source code contains an extension dot java, by which we will come to know that this is the source code or this is the program written by the programmer. Once the program is converted to dot class, we will come to know that the compilation of the program is over and now the bytecode is generated. Because when the bytecode will be generated, you will have an extension dot class. So let's once again discuss this. Here we have a source code. Now it is compiled. If there is any error, then again it will be sent for the rectification in case there is any error. Now once the rectification is done, once again it will be compiled here. Now if there is no error, then it will be sent for the conversion to bytecode. Okay, so here how you will come to know that it is converted to bytecode, because once the program is converted to bytecode, it will have an extension dot class, class. Now you don't have to look to this whether the program is converted to dot class or not. These all are internal process. Just remember that when a bytecode is converted, it will be converted with an extension dot class. Even in your answers, you don't have to write that a program is converted to dot class. Simply you will write that a program is converted to bytecode. Okay, it is understood that when a program is converted to bytecode, it will have an extension dot class. In most of the book you may not find that a bytecode contains an extension dot class, but actually this is what it happens inside the Java program. When a Java program is compiled, it is converted to bytecode. In most of the book you will find, but along with bytecode you can say that whenever a program is converted to bytecode or a source code is converted to bytecode, it contains an extension dot class. Now once the program is converted to dot class, we can say that it is converted to bytecode, and this bytecode, remember, it is independent of the machine. What do you mean by independent of the machine? That means if you execute this Java code on a Windows machine or on a Windows operating system, then it will be converted to a bytecode here. If you again compile this program on a Linux machine, again it will be converted to same bytecode. If you compile this program on a Macintosh machine, it will be converted to same bytecode. If you compile this program on a Solaris operating system, it will be converted to same bytecode. So it is independent of machine. Bytecode is independent of machine. Remember, it do not depend on any machine. Bytecode is never dependent on any machine. Bytecode is independent of all the machines, or bytecode is independent of all the operating system. Whether you use Windows operating system, or you use Linux operating system, or you use Macintosh operating system, or you use Android operating system, or you use Solaris operating system, any operating system you use, this bytecode is independent of all the machines. It do not depend on any machine. Now once the bytecode is converted, once you are going to convert it to bytecode, here you have to remember that here you can see the diagram. The whole thing is called as Java virtual machine. Here you can see the outer covering. The outer covering is called as Java virtual machine. In details we will discuss after some time what is Java virtual machine, and everything about Java virtual machine we are going to discuss. But for the time being, you can remember that once a source code is compiled, it will be converted to bytecode, and once it is converted to bytecode, then it will be sent to Java virtual machine. It will come to Java virtual machine. And what happens inside Java virtual machine? Inside Java virtual machine, you will find class loader, you will find bytecode verifier, you will find interpreter, and along with interpreter there is something called as JIT. But as JIT is not in the syllabus, so I am not going to cover what is JIT. But remember, inside Java virtual machine you will find class loader, bytecode, interpreter, and JIT. JIT full form is just in time compiler. JIT is called as just in time compiler. Along with interpreter you will find just in time compiler. Okay, but as it is not there in ICSE syllabus, I am not going to cover this part. I am not going to tell you what is JIT, and I am not going to confuse you. So here let's see once again, Java code is converted, is compiled, and then it is converted to bytecode. Once it is converted to bytecode, then it will be sent inside the JVM. Now what happens inside the JVM? Because of the class loader, there is something called as class loader. Class loader will bring this bytecode inside the JVM. Class loader will execute this bytecode. Remember, class loader will execute the bytecode, or it will bring this bytecode. It will load the bytecode. Load means it will get the bytecode inside the JVM. Okay. Once it comes inside the JVM, because of class loader, it will come inside the JVM. Then it will be checked. This bytecode will be checked. This is called as bytecode verifier. This bytecode will be checked whether it contains any error or not. There are possibilities that bytecode might contain some error. See, you have to know this thing. If there is no error in the source code, that doesn't mean that bytecode will not have any error, because source code is written by you. Compiler might pass this Java source code. Once the compiler thinks that there is no error, it will be converted to bytecode. But while converting it to bytecode, there might be some error. And when it is loaded to JVM by the help of class loader, which is present inside the JVM, class loader is present inside the JVM. And because of class loader, this bytecode will come inside the Java virtual machine. And once it is loaded to Java virtual machine, Java bytecode verifier is going to check whether it contains some error or not. This bytecode which has come just now, does it contain any error or not? And if it do not contain any error, then interpreter, remember this interpreter with the help of interpreter, JVM will convert this bytecode to machine code. Then bytecode will be converted to machine code. Once again, have a look to this. Now bytecode will be loaded to JVM. And how it will be loaded to JVM? With the help of class loader. Once it is loaded to JVM with the class loader, here bytecode verifier will check whether the bytecode contains any error or not. If the bytecode do not contain any error, then interpreter, the work of interpreter is it will decode the bytecode. It will decode. What it will do? It will decode the bytecode. And who will decode the bytecode? Interpreter will decode the bytecode. And why it will decode the bytecode? Because the JVM can understand the bytecode. What is written inside the bytecode, the JVM can understand. So decoding will be done by interpreter. And for whom decoding will be done by interpreter? For JVM, decoding will be done by interpreter. Once the bytecode is decoded, then the JVM can convert it into machine code. Is this clear to you? Now let us once again see. That what is how the things work here. First, the source code or the Java code which is having an extension .java will be converted to, with the help of compiler, it will be converted to bytecode, right? Once it is converted to bytecode, it will have an extension .class. Once it is converted to bytecode, then with the help of class loader, it will be loaded inside JVM. Once it is loaded inside JVM, then the bytecode verifier will check whether the bytecode contains any error or not. If the bytecode do not contain any error, then with the help of interpreter, it will be decoded. Which is going to be decoded? Bytecode will be decoded. And for whom it will be decoded? For JVM it will be decoded. Java Virtual Machine it will be decoded. So that further Java Virtual Machine or JVM can convert it to machine code. Okay, and what happens when it is converted to machine code? Once it is converted to machine code, it can run on any operating system, or it can run on operating system. On a particular operating system it can run. Is this clear to everyone? Once it is converted to machine code, it can run on operating system, or you can say it can run on the hardware what you are using. The hardware what you are using, it can understand machine code, so it can run on any hardware. Now let us have once again review whatever we discussed here. Let us once again review this. Java source code having an extension .java will be converted to, with the help of compiler, it will be converted to bytecode. Now remember, compiler name is JavaC, JAVAC. Here in Java the compiler name is JavaC. So a source code with the help of compiler is converted to bytecode. When it is converted to bytecode with the help of class loader, it is loaded to JVM. Then with the help of bytecode, it is verified that whether the bytecode contains any error or not. If it do not contain any error, then with the help of interpreter, it is decoded for JVM. Then once it is decoded for JVM, further JVM convert it into machine code. And when it is converted to machine code, it can run on the hardware. Now when you are writing the same answer for the ICSE examination, if the question comes in ICSE examination, how the Java program flows, or state the steps through which the Java program is converted to machine code, then you are not going to write everything here. Simply write the Java source code having an extension .java with the help of compiler is converted to bytecode. Then with the help then bytecode is decoded for JVM. You don't write what is class loader and what is bytecode. And I have just explained these things because exactly the way it work I explained you. But in terms of ICSE examination or your school examination, you don't have to mention anything about class loader, or you don't have to mention anything about bytecode verifier, because in no ICSE book you will find what is class loader and what is bytecode verifier. Okay, in most of the book I have seen they have not mentioned anything about class loader and bytecode verifier, and even in the syllabus nothing is mentioned about class loader and bytecode verifier. But when we read about Java, when we want to know in details about Java, we need to know what is class loader, what is bytecode verifier. We need to have an idea what is class loader and bytecode verifier. And we also have, as I told you, we also have JIT compiler. Okay, just in time compiler. Again, I'm not going to explain, I'm not going to discuss anything about JIT compiler, because in no book or in the syllabus it is mentioned that we have to explain about JIT compiler. So I don't want to discuss much about JIT compiler, but for the time being you can think like this: the JIT compiler work is somehow it is somehow equal to interpreter. It is also used to convert something, and what it does exactly I'm not going to tell you, because it will unnecessary, it will create a confusion. So here while framing an answer, while you are going to write an answer, do not write anything about class loader and do not write anything about bytecode verifier. Now how we are going to frame the answer when it comes in the ICSE examination, or if it comes to in the school examination, state the process through which Java program get converted to machine code, or state the flow of Java program. Simply write a Java source code with an extension .java gets converted to bytecode with the help of compiler. So with the help of compiler, Java source code gets converted to bytecode. Here name of Java compiler is Java C. Okay, Java C. What you will write? The source code, the Java source code with the help of compiler gets converted to bytecode. Then bytecode with the help of interpreter. Then bytecode with the help of interpreter gets decoded for JVM. Gets decoded for the JVM. Okay. Further, JVM converts the bytecode into machine code, which can be executed on a hardware, operating system hardware, or which can be executed on hardware, okay, on a specific machine or on a specific operating system. So once again, let us discuss. Java source code with the help of compiler gets converted, or Java source code with the help of Java compiler, that is Java C, gets converted to bytecode. Java source code with the help of Java compiler, that is Java C, gets converted to bytecode. Once it is converted to bytecode having an extension dot class, then with the help of interpreter, it gets decoded for JVM. The bytecode with the help of interpreter gets decoded for JVM, and this JVM converts the bytecode or the decoded bytecode to machine code. This JVM further convert it to machine code, and this machine code can run on the hardware which we are using. Here two things you have to remember, that students, that bytecode is independent of machine. Bytecode is independent, okay, bytecode is independent, but JVM is dependent. Remember, JVM is dependent. Now when I say that bytecode is independent, JVM is dependent, what do you mean by dependent? I hope this part is clear, that independent means it do not depend on any machine, like whatever machine we are using, whatever operating system we are using, it do not bother about that, okay. Whatever machine we use, whatever operating system we use, on every machine, on every operating system, this can be generated, or it can be used, or it can work, the bytecode can work. But what do you mean by dependent? Dependent means, remember, if you are using Windows operating system, there will be a separate JVM for Windows operating system. If you are using Linux operating system, there will be a different JVM for Linux operating system. If you are using a Macintosh operating system, there will be different JVM for Macintosh operating system. If you are using Solaris operating system, there will be a different JVM for Solaris operating system. Now you must be wondering that, sir, do we have to download JVM for different operating systems? Then only our Java program will execute. Now, if students, you are using Windows operating system, you will have a question that, sir, I want to develop a Java program. I want to run a Java program. So before running a Java program, before writing a Java program, before executing a Java program, do I need to download separate JVM for my Windows operating system? The answer is yes. If I am using Linux operating system, do I have to download a separate JVM for Linux operating system? Again, the answer is yes. The JVM of Linux operating system will be different from the JVM of Windows operating system. And if someone is using Macintosh operating system, again, the one who is using Macintosh operating system will have to download JVM separately for Macintosh operating system. Is this clear to everyone? Okay, so next time you are going to execute any Java program, or if you want to execute a Java program, if you want to run a Java software, if you want to do anything with Java program or Java software, then first of all, install JVM on your computer. Without installing JVM, you cannot execute a Java program. The execution or the running environment or the execution environment is only and only possible if you have a JVM. If you have a JVM, then only you can say you can run a Java program. Now let's learn something about JVM. What exactly JVM is? What exactly Java Virtual Machine is? Here you can see that I have made an image, and you must be like confused looking to this image. Well, within 3-4 minutes you will come to know what this image is all about. Now here you can find JVM. Okay, here you can find JVM. It is written Java Virtual Machine. Now let us see. First of all, if you want to download JVM, then do not download JVM directly. Or JVM, I will tell you, JVM is not the thing which is available independently. JVM comes under JDK. JDK is Java Development Kit. What do you mean by Java Development Kit? Remember, if you want to develop anything in Java, if you want to execute anything in Java, if you want to do anything in Java, if you want to execute a program, if you want to write a program, you want to develop a software, you want to do anything in Java, first of all you have to download JDK. Once you download JDK, automatically JVM is included inside JDK. So next time if I tell you install JVM, that means I'm asking you to install JDK. Please remember, if I tell you to install JVM, then I'm telling you to install JDK. Is this clear to everyone? Now let's see here. Once you are going to download JDK, that is Java Development Kit, that means you are ready to write the program, you are ready to develop a program, you are ready to develop a software, and you are also ready to execute that program. Okay, inside JDK you will find compiler, and you will also find JRE. Here I forgot to write JRE, so I'm writing it now. So inside JDK you will find two things, compiler as well as JRE. Why do we use compiler? Compiler is used to convert a source code to bytecode. Is it clear to everyone? So using the Java compiler, once using this Java compiler, you can convert a source code. A source code can be converted to bytecode. Is it clear? Now using this compiler, we can convert a source code to bytecode. Okay, once it is converted to bytecode, with the help of JVM, it can be converted to machine code. So I hope this part is clear to you. So first of all, you are going to download JDK. Once the JDK is downloaded, that means we will have compiler and also we will have JVM, and JVM comes under JRE. JRE stands for Java Runtime Environment. It will provide you with the facility through which you can run a Java program. You can execute a Java program. So here you will get a facility to develop a Java program, and here you will get a facility to run a Java program. Once again I am telling you, when you write a program, when you develop a program, here you will get everything. Here you will get all the development tools through which a Java program can be developed. Please remember, development and running both are different. Development is the process through which you write a program, you develop a software. But once the program is developed or once the software is developed, then you go for running it, or then you execute it. So when you are in development process, you get all the tools, you get all the help from this side, left side. Once the development is over, remember, once the development is over, with the help of compiler, it will be converted to bytecode. Now we are ready for the execution. Once we convert it into bytecode, we are ready for execution. So remember, here combinedly you can say that this part combinedly it comes under development, and here this part comes under runtime or execution. It comes under development, it comes under execution or runtime. Now Let us once again see. Once you download JDK, that is Java Development Kit, you can download JDK very easily. I will tell you and I will show you how to download JDK. Once the JDK is downloaded, simply you are going to have everything inside your computer. Everything will get installed automatically. All this thing, everything will get installed automatically. So here, with the help of development tool, you can develop a Java program, you can write a Java program with the help of compiler. This Java program can be converted to bytecode. Once it is converted to bytecode, with the help of interpreter, it will be decoded, and with the help of JVM, it can be converted to machine code. Okay, so JVM is present inside what? JRE, Java Runtime Environment. JVM is present inside JRE. So do not go for searching JVM separately. Do not go for searching JRE separately, or do not go for searching compiler separately. Simply download JDK. Okay. Then you will find all the development tools inside JDK. You will also find compiler inside the JDK. You will find JRE inside the JDK. You will find JVM inside the JDK. So JVM, it contains interpreter plus JIT compiler. As I told you, inside JVM along with interpreter you will find JIT compiler, but I am not going to tell you what is JIT compiler because it is not there in the course. Again, I am not going to discuss anything about API right now. We will later on, we will decide, or we are going to discuss what is API. So here in this module we are not going to discuss anything about API. Let's once again discuss this one. You are going to download JDK. Once the JDK is downloaded, you will have all this option. Here you will have development tools through which you can write a Java program. You can develop a Java program. Once the Java program is developed, using compiler, you can convert it into bytecode. Once it is converted to bytecode, it, with the help of interpreter, it will be decoded for the JVM. Once the decode process is over, then it will be converted to machine code. And once it is converted to machine code, it can execute on the operating system. On a particular operating system, it can execute, or on a particular machine it can be executed. And under which option JVM comes? JRE, Java Runtime Environment. So inside Java Runtime Environment, JRE comes. Inside JRE or Java Runtime Environment, JVM comes. Inside Java Runtime Environment or JRE, JVM comes. And inside JVM you will find interpreter and JIT compiler. Okay. Now inside JVM we also have bytecode verifier, we have bytecode verifier, class loader, all this thing we have, but basically we are going to discuss about interpreter. Here the main focus will be on interpreter, because once the source code is converted to bytecode, with the help of interpreter, bytecode gets decoded for JVM, and once it gets decoded for JVM, then further JVM can convert it to machine code. I hope this part is very clear to you. What is JDK, what is compiler, what is JVM, what is interpreter, and what is JRE. Now let's see how to download the JDK. For that we have to visit the official website of Oracle. So we are going to visit the official website of Oracle. Once you visit the official website of Oracle, here you can click on this line, the lines here, and simply you can click on Java. Here you will find Java. Then we can scroll down, and here we can come to Java SE. Okay, here you can click on Java SE. SE stands for Standard Edition. Here we are going to download few standard edition of Java. Then you can click on downloads. Now once you click on download, you will find the different version of the Java, that is Java Standard Edition 14, Java Standard Edition 13, Java Standard Edition 11. Like this you will find several edition. The latest version of Java is Java 14. Remember, in 2020 I'm recording this video on 31st of March 2020. So in 31st of March 2020, the latest version of Java is Java 14. But before few months it was Java 13, and before a year it was Java 11. So here the latest version is Java 14. Now you must be wondering that what is the difference between Java 14, what is then Java 13, what is Java 11. So you can think like this: Java 14 is updated version of Java 13. The facilities, the development which was provided by Java 13, in Java 14 you will find quite a advanced development tool, or in Java 14 you will find quite advanced features. Java 14 is quite advanced than Java 13. So here Java 14 is the latest development, or you can say Java 14 is the latest release of Oracle or Java edition. Okay, now we are going to download Java 14. Okay, the JDK of Java 14. Here you can click on JDK download. You can see here JDK download. Simply click on JDK download. Once you click on JDK download, here you can see everything about this JDK. It is clearly mentioned that on April 16, 2019, this JDK was developed. Java 14 was released on April 16, 2019. Now let us scroll down. Once you scroll down, you will find that here for Linux environment a JDK can be downloaded. For Mac operating system a JDK can be downloaded. For Windows operating system JDK can be downloaded. Here you will find the JDK for different operating system. Basically JDK or Java is providing its facility for three operating systems. One is Linux operating system, another is Mac operating system, and the third one is Windows operating system. So next time if you want to run a Java program, if you want to develop a Java program, if you want to execute a Java program, it is possible. But before that you have to download JDK or Java Development Kit for Windows. If you want to execute the Java program, the same Java program can be executed on Linux, but before that you have to download JDK for Linux. The same Java program can be executed on Mac operating system, but for that again you have to download JDK for Mac operating system. So once you write a Java program, it can be executed on any environment, on any operating system like Linux, Mac and Windows. But for that you have to download specific JDK or Java Development Kit for Linux, or if you are using Mac then you have to download it for Mac, or if you are using Windows operating system then you have to download it for Windows operating system. So here once you write the program, that program can be executed, that software can be executed on any operating system, but for that you have to download JDK for that specific operating system. Now let's once again discuss this. Java source code with the help of compiler that is called as Java C gets converted to bytecode, which has an extension dot class. Then bytecode is loaded with the help of class loader. Then once it is loaded, with the help of bytecode verifier, it checks whether the bytecode contains any error or not. Once we find that it do not contain any error, then it can be decoded by the interpreter. And for whom it is decoded? For JVM it is decoded. Once it is decoded for JVM, further JVM can convert it to machine code. Further it can be converted to machine code. Once it is converted to machine code, and now it can run on any hardware, on any machine or any operating system which you are using. the operating system or the machine which you are using, it can run on that. So here this is the complete flow diagram of Java program, how a Java program starting from the source code gets converted to machine code. Everything is explained here one by one. Okay, now in terms of examination, if we talk, how you are going to frame the answer. First, Java source code with the help of Java compiler gets converted to bytecode. Then bytecode with the help of interpreter gets decoded for JVM. Further, JVM converts it to machine code, which can run on a hardware or which can run on an operating system. Here we have to notice that bytecode is independent. You don't have to download different bytecodes for different machines. So it is called as independent. Bytecode is independent, but JVM is dependent. Why JVM is dependent? Because JVM comes under JRE. If you remember this diagram, JVM comes under JRE and JRE comes under JDK, and we can download individual JDK for each machine or for each operating system. So JDK is machine dependent. If JDK is machine dependent, then you can say that JVM is also machine dependent. Now let's see here. You can see the diagram in the slide itself, that Java source code with the help of JavaC is converted to bytecode. Once it is converted to bytecode, with the help of interpreter, it will be decoded for JVM. Once it is decoded for JVM, then JVM can further convert it into machine code. Now, once it is converted to machine code, it can be executed on an operating system. Is it clear to you? Let's move to the definition. First, we are going to discuss what is Java source code. Here we will discuss what is Java source code. Java source code is a collection of computer instructions built by the programmer. Basically, Java source code is written by a programmer. Okay, I, a programmer, you as a programmer, whatever code you write, whatever code you will write in Java, that is called as source code or starting code. That is called as source code. What is Java compiler? A Java compiler is a set of programs that transforms source code into bytecode. So here Java compiler will convert the source code into bytecode. So here we have source code. This source code will be with the help of Java compiler will get converted to bytecode. So Java compiler is a set of programs. So it is a program that will help us to convert a source code into bytecode. And what is bytecode? Java source code is compiled into bytecode by Java compiler. This bytecode is independent of the machine. As I told you, bytecode is independent of any machine. JVM is dependent, but bytecode is independent of any machine. Java source code is compiled into bytecode. Here you can see Java compiler is compiled into bytecode by Java compiler. Okay, so Java source code is converted to bytecode by Java compiler. This bytecode is independent of the machine. It do not depend on any operating system. It do not depend on any machine. Okay, where a program need to be run. If you are running a program on Windows operating system, then you don't have to download different bytecode for Windows operating system. If you are running a program on Linux operating system, then you don't have to download a separate bytecode for Linux operating system. If you are executing a program on Mac operating system, you do not have to download bytecode for Mac operating system. Simply, it is independent of all machine. Bytecode is independent of all the machines, all the operating system. You do not have to go on downloading separate bytecode for separate machines or separate operating system. So here let us see. First of all, Java source code is compiled and converted to bytecode with the help of compiler. Then this bytecode is independent of machine. It is independent of machine where the program is to run. This makes a Java compiler highly portable. This is the reason why Java compiler is highly portable. Portable means it can run anywhere. Okay, it can run on any machine. Portable means it can be carried. So here we cannot, here it can be carried. So Java program can be carried from one machine to another machine. Java program can be carried from one operating system to another operating system. You do not have to write again and again for different operating system. If you are developing a school management software using Java program, then it becomes quite portable. And why it becomes quite portable? The reason is the same software can be used on Windows operating system, the same software can be used on Linux operating system, the same software can be used on Macintosh operating system. You do not have to write separate program for Windows, separate program for Linux, and separate program for Macintosh operating system. This is the reason it is mentioned that Java compiler is highly portable. Portable means the program can be taken from one operating system or one environment to another environment, and from second to third environment it can be easily taken or carried. This makes a Java compiler highly portable. Okay, it can be carried easily. Java interpreter. Next we will discuss about Java interpreter. Here we know that Java interpreter comes under JVM. Under JVM two things come, Java interpreter and JIT. Do you remember? Java interpreter comes and JIT comes, that is just in time compiler. But we are not going to discuss anything about just in time compiler. Our focus will be on interpreter, because according to ICSE examination or ICSE syllabus, nothing is mentioned about JIT compiler. Only we have to know what is interpreter. But you can remember that JVM contains two things, JIT compiler, and it also contains interpreter. And also JVM contains class loader, and it also contains bytecode verifier, which already I discussed with you in details, showing you that flow diagram. But here you have to remember that a bytecode, once the source code with the help of compiler it is converted to bytecode, then with the help of interpreter it will be decoded for JVM. Okay, here you can see the Java interpreter decode and executes bytecode for the Java virtual machine. So the bytecode will be decoded and it will be executed for Java virtual machine with the help of interpreter. So what is the work of interpreter? Java virtual machine will not interact directly with the bytecode. First, the bytecode will come to interpreter, or you can say the interpreter will convert this bytecode or will decode this bytecode, will decode the bytecode so that it can be understood by JVM. So Java interpreter will decode the bytecode, it can be understood by JVM. Okay, so it will decode and it will execute the bytecode for whom? It will decode and execute the bytecode for Java virtual machine. Then the Java interpreter is actually a part of JVM. So Java interpreter is a part of JVM. As we discussed, Java interpreter and JIT compiler both are part of JVM. We are not discussing anything about JIT compiler, JIT, just in time compiler. So here Java interpreter is a part of JVM, Java virtual machine. The Java interpreter is actually a part of JVM. JVM is a platform dependent execution. As I told you, JVM is platform dependent, but bytecode is platform independent. Why JVM is platform dependent? Because JVM comes under JRE and JRE comes under JDK, and we download JDK, different JDKs for different operating system. For Windows operating system, different JDK. So there will be different JVM for Windows operating system. We download different JDK for Macintosh operating system. So there will be different JVM for Macintosh operating system. We download separate JDK for Linux operating system. So there will be different JVM for Linux operating system. So we can say JVM is platform dependent. JVM is a platform dependent execution environment that converts Java bytecode into machine code. Once again, look to this. Here we will, from here we will begin. Java source code is compiled into bytecode. So first of all, Java source code will be compiled to bytecode with the help of Java compiler. Then this bytecode is independent of the machine, as we already discussed. It is independent of the machine. It do not depend on any machine on which the program is to run. This makes a Java compiler highly portable. For this reason, Java compiler becomes highly portable. Then the work of Java interpreter comes. The Java interpreter decodes and execute the bytecode for Java virtual machine. Further, Java virtual machine can convert that bytecode to machine code. Java virtual machine can convert that bytecode into machine code. And Java virtual machine is platform dependent execution environment. It will execute, but it is platform dependent. You have to download different JVM, or you can say you have to download different JDKs or different JVM for different platforms or different operating system. Okay. Now what is machine code? JVM converts bytecode directly into machine code. Now here bytecode can be directly converted to machine code only with the help of JVM. Okay, and this machine code is designed to run on a specific operating system. Now finally, when the source code is converted to machine code, it can run on an operating system. Java source code with the help of Java compiler gets converted to bytecode. Then bytecode with the help of Java interpreter, bytecode with the help of Java interpreter gets decoded and executed for Java virtual machine. Once again you start. Java source code with the help of Java compiler, that is Javac, gets converted to bytecode. Bytecode with the help of interpreter gets decoded and executed for Java virtual machine. Java interpreter is part of Java virtual machine. Java virtual machine is machine dependent execution environment, and bytecode is machine independent execution environment. And further, Java virtual machine converts the bytecode to machine code, and after that machine code can run on specific operating system, or it can run on a specific hardware. Okay, so here we discussed about what is Java source code, what is Java compiler, what is bytecode, what is interpreter, and what is machine code. What question you can expect from here is, first they can ask you like a state flow of Java programming, or state the steps through which a Java source code is converted to machine code. They can ask you a question. State the process through which a Java source code is converted to machine code. So here you can write the complete story, that a Java source code with the help of Java compiler gets converted to bytecode. Then bytecode is decoded and executed for JVM with the help of Java interpreter. Then a JVM converts the bytecode to machine code. Okay, once it is converted to machine code, then the bytecode can run on any machine, or the Java program can run on any machine, or you can say the machine code can run on the specific operating system. It can run on a specific operating system. Okay, so this is one of the question which you can get. Second question, they can ask you what is Java source code. So Java source code is the code or the starting code which is written by the developer, or which is written by the programmer. Further, Java source code will be converted to bytecode, and then it will be converted to machine code, where it can run on a specific operating system. Then they can ask you what is Java compiler. They can ask you question, what is a bytecode, what do you mean by bytecode. So here you have the definition, what is Java compiler. You have a definition for what is bytecode. You have a definition for Java interpreter, and again there is a definition for machine code. Apart from this, a question can come, how Java execution is different from any other programming language execution. Okay, how the Java execution is different from any other programming language execution. Here you can state that in Java execution, a Java source code is first converted to bytecode, then it is converted to machine code, for which Java becomes a platform independent execution language. So here once again I'm telling you, Java source code is first converted to bytecode, then it is converted to machine code. Whereas in other programming language, Java source code is directly converted to machine code, right? One more thing you have to notice, that in the execution of Java program, in the complete execution of Java program, we need a compiler as well as we need an interpreter. Remember this, it is very important. In Java program, we need a compiler as well as we need an interpreter. But in any other programming execution environment, when you convert any other program, when a source code is converted to machine code, remember, we need either compiler or we need an interpreter. Both are not needed. If you take help of C++, then only compiler is required. If you take help of BASIC, only interpreter is required. We don't need two things. Only Java is the environment where a compiler as well as interpreter is used. Compiler is used to convert source code to bytecode. Interpreter with the help of JVM converts bytecode into machine code. Both interpreter with the help of JVM converts bytecode to machine code. So here you can differentiate like this. The first difference is Java source code is converted to bytecode with the help of compiler, then it is converted to machine code with the help of interpreter and JVM. Whereas in other programming language, Java source in any other programming language, the source code get converted to machine code directly by compiler or interpreter, for which other programming language they are dependent on a particular machine. Whereas Java source code is independent. Once it is written, it can execute on any environment, it can execute on any operating system. Whereas other programming language will only execute on the machine where it is written, for which it is written. It will only execute on the operating system on which it is written. If it is written on a Windows operating system, then it will only execute on Windows operating system. I'm talking about other programming language. It can be C, it can be C++, it can be C sharp, it can be anything. So when we write a programming language on a particular environment, on a particular operating system, it will only execute on that operating system. Whereas a Java program can execute on any environment. Once it is written, it can execute on any environment. Okay, so like this you can differentiate between other programming language, and as you can differentiate between a Java programming language. Okay, another question can be asked to you, what do you mean by WORA? WORA. What do you mean by WORA? Okay, what is the meaning of WORA? WORA means write once, run anywhere. WORA means write once, run anywhere. What do you mean by this? Once you write Java program, it can run on any environment. So it is called as write once, run anywhere. A question can come like this. What do you mean by WORA? Okay, what do you understand by WORA? So here the answer to WORA is, WORA stands for write once, run anywhere. So when a program is written using Java program, when a software is developed using Java program, once the program is written using Java program, it can run on any environment. It can run on any operating system. We are not specified, we are not bound to execute or it on we are not bound to execute it on a single operating system or a specific operating system. So it is said that Java is a WORA language, write once and run anywhere language. Now what else question you can expect, sorry, once again. Like what else question you can expect from this part is, what is the difference between a compiler and Java compiler? Remember students, a question can be asked to you, what is the difference between a compiler and Java compiler? A simple normal compiler and Java compiler. So this is called as Java compiler. We also have a normal compiler. Remember the difference between a normal compiler and a Java compiler. You can state like this: difference between a compiler and Java compiler. What are the difference? First of all, a compiler or a normal compiler is used to convert a source code to machine code. It will convert a source code to machine code directly. But a Java compiler converts a Java source code to bytecode. Okay, so here source code is converted to machine code, and here source code is converted to bytecode. This is the major difference between compiler. This is the major difference between compiler and Java compiler. Next thing you can write, because of the normal compiler, program is dependent on a machine. It depends on a machine. But because of Java compiler, it is converted to bytecode. It is converted to bytecode. Source code is converted to bytecode, which is independent of machine. So here once again, because a normal compiler converts a source code to machine code, Java compiler converts a source code to bytecode. Because of normal compiler, a program is dependent on a machine. It can run on a specific machine, it can run on a specific environment, it can run on a specific operating system. But because of Java compiler, it gets converted, the source code gets converted to bytecode, and which is independent of machine. It can run on any machine, it can run on any operating system. Okay, so here two difference you can write between a normal compiler and Java compiler. One more question can be asked to you, what is difference between compiler and interpreter? I'm not talking about Java compiler. Okay, here we are not talking about Java compiler. Normally we are talking about normal compiler and we are talking about normal interpreter. We are not talking about Java compiler and Java interpreter. See, here we are not talking about this Java compiler and we are not talking about Java interpreter. Simply we are talking about normal compiler and normal interpreter. So in normal compiler, what happens? The program, whatever program you write, the normal compiler finds the error at once. Okay, it will find the error at once and it will show you all the error at a time. But in an interpreter, what happens? See, if you have written 10 lines of code, here you can see we have a normal compiler and here we have a normal interpreter. You have written 10 lines of code here, and similarly here 10 lines of codes are written. Okay, you have written 10 lines of code, a few lines of code you have written here. Okay, you have written few lines of code. Now remember, if you have a error in this line, here in this line, in this line and in this line, Java compiler will show you all the errors at a time. It will show you all the errors at a time. But in Java interpreter, if you have similar error in the same line, okay, similarly if you have 4 errors in Java interpreter, what interpreter will do? It will first show you this error. The first error will be shown to you. Then once you rectify this error, then again it will show you this error. Once it is rectified, then it will show you the third error. Once it is rectified, then it will show you the fourth error. So here you can say that a compiler finds error all at a time, but interpreter finds the error one by one. It finds the error one by one. Or you can say here, a compiler, normally I'm talking about a compiler converts a code to machine code all at a time. Okay, here everything will be converted to machine code all at a time. Okay, at one go it will be converted. A compiler converts a source code, this is source code what you have written, to machine code at one go. But an interpreter converts a source code to machine code line by line or one by one it converts. Is it clear to you, everyone? Now this is the first difference between a compiler and interpreter. Compiler will convert a source code to machine code at once or all at a time, but whereas interpreter will convert a source code to machine code line by line, it will convert it line by line. So initially, remember, initially the compiler might look slow to you. Initially the interpreter might look that it is working very fast, but when you see the overall process when you see, compiler is faster than interpreter. You can think you have normal compiler and here you have normal interpreter. Okay, you have written few lines of code here. Here you have written few lines of code. Now as this line will get converted to machine code, you will find that it is very fast. Then it will again, this line will get converted to machine code, you will find very fast. Then this line will get converted to machine code, so you will think it is very fast. Okay, so as it is doing one by one, okay, so initially it looks that the interpreter is working faster, but here unless and until everything do not gets converted to machine code, it will not show you the result. It will not show you the result. So initially it can it can look that the compiler is working in a slow manner, but overall process, if you see the overall execution process, if you see, or at last if you find the timing, if you see the timing, you will find the execution of compiler is much more faster than execution of interpreter. So initially the second difference is, initially the compiler might look slower to you, but overall execution process is faster. Initially the interpreter might look faster to you, but overall execution process is slower than compiler. So finally you can say that compiler converts whole program to machine code whole at a time or at one go. Interpreter converts source code to machine code one by one, line by line it converts. Compiler is faster than interpreter. The overall execution process of compiler is faster than interpreter. The overall execution process of interpreter is slower than compiler. So this is the basic difference between compiler and interpreter. Many a times we get question from this, what is the difference between compiler and interpreter? You can get question like, what is the difference between Java compiler and normal compiler? It will be asked a compiler and Java compiler. When it is asked a normal compiler means the one who has set the question paper is asking you to explain between a Java compiler and a compiler which is being used by other programming language. Okay, so as I told you, you have to write difference between the Java compiler and other programming language compiler. And if it is asked that what is the difference between compiler and interpreter, this one you can write. They might ask you what is the difference between Java compiler and Java interpreter. Okay, so here we are talking about normal compiler and normal interpreter. What is the difference between Java compiler and Java interpreter? Java compiler converts source code to bytecode. Java interpreter converts bytecode to machine code. With the help of JVM, it converts it to machine code. So this is the basic difference between Java compiler and Java interpreter. And similarly, here you can write the next difference. You can write Java compiler converts a source code to bytecode, or it finds the error whole at a time. It finds the error whole at a time. Whatever error you have, it will find at one go, but Java interpreter will find the error line by line. Okay, if you have any error in the bytecode, it is going to find that error line by line. So this is the basic difference between Java compiler and Java interpreter. So finally we come to an end of this topic. So we discussed the basic difference between procedure oriented programming language and object oriented programming language in the first video or first part of this topic. Then we discussed regarding different elements of object-oriented programming language in the second part of this video. And then today we discussed how the Java program gets executed and how it is quite different from other programming language and for what reason it has become so popular. So this is finally the end of this topic. Stay tuned with me for my next video where we will discuss about the next topic. Till then, God bless you all.